What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for another Motorfest tournament. So I've got all the details in this video. Let's go. All right, so if you've been following the channel, you might know that I'd like to put on competitions here in Motorfest, and all of those competitions have revolved around the grand races, and this one is no different. It is a grand race tournament. This tournament is going to be slightly different though than the other ones in terms of its structure. I'm going to be making this the very first tournament where your participation is guaranteed. In the past, my tournaments have relied on you having to sort of snipe into the grand races and the RNG as to who gets in at what time and, you know, how many races can you try to get in and win and all that stuff. So it's a little bit random, and that's something that we can't really do anything about until Ubisoft gives us private lobbies, which I hope we can actually achieve. I know the community is pulling together for that one recently. That being said, this particular tournament is not going to rely on that at all. In fact, this tournament is going to reward you for your own performance. So you have to qualify, basically. This tournament is going to be a 2v2 situation. That means you and a friend take on another player and their friend or their teammate. It is a 2v2, which means only 4 people per race. Now, how do you actually get into this tournament? So for this one, I'm going to be requiring a pre-bracket qualification. Now, let's talk about the bracket first, and then we'll get into the qualification. The bracket is simple. It is a standard 16-team single elimination tournament. That means if you lose, you're out. And it's a 2v2 sort of like head-to-head competition. You're not going to be racing against an entire lobby. It's just 2 people racing 2 more people. That's it. Now you're wondering how I'm going to achieve this, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but let's move on to the qualification. You are going to have to qualify for the tournament. That qualification is a time attack with you and your teammate in the race, the Big Maui Tour. Now you're going to have to complete this with the Agera R. Your combined time with you and your teammate is going to be your rank in the qualification process. The top 16 team times for that race will be allowed into the tournament for the actual competition, the actual bracket. You're going to race this together. I want you guys on the same event, the same group, which means you guys are going to have to be on the same platform. I realize that's not the most ideal situation, but for this one, we're going to try it out. We may change things in the future. Now, when you guys have your qualification time, you're going to submit your registration with your team name and your player names and your gamer tags and all the information that I need, and a screenshot of that time attack for your qualification. So that's how I'm going to be collecting them. Screenshots from the game. So when you complete it with your friend and you got your best time, make sure you screenshot that and send it over to me with your registration form. All right, let's talk about the match procedures real quick. So it's going to be a little bit different. We're not just going to like jump into a grand race and go. Since the start position of grand races is not really something that we can control, you might have a situation where 2 players start at the very beginning of the race and 2 players are starting at the back of the grid. And that's obviously very unfair because the people in the back actually have to work their way through the entire field to catch up to the people in the front, and the people in the front just get to go. It almost gives them a free win. Not every time, obviously, but almost. And so I want to avoid that and make things as fair as possible. And for that reason, we are going to have a waiting period at the beginning of the race. I'm going to have each team wait 4 minutes at the beginning of the race, and then we're going to go on my signal. I'll be in the race as well. Flash my headlights. When I flash my headlights at the 4-minute mark, then you guys are going to take off. And that's how every single match is going to take place. Then you guys are going to race, and hopefully you don't run into the back of the field. I've tested this a few times, as well as some friends of mine have tested this, and the sweet spot is somewhere around 4 to 5 minutes of waiting time. The only issue is you have to finish this race before like 12 minutes because that seems to be the longest possible time that they keep the grand race server open. If everyone finishes and you guys are still racing after 12 minutes, the race ends, you DNF, it's over. So if that happens, if we get to that scenario where you don't finish the race, the results of that race will be determined by the leaderboard position of that race when it shuts down. So you just keep racing until the server stops, and that's it. But we probably won't run into that situation unless we get one specific route that happens to be a fairly long route. And if that route takes a little bit longer, that might happen, but that might be super rare. So I'm not really that worried about it, but that is what we're going to do in that scenario. Now, obviously all the races are going to be streamed live on YouTube right here, and the races will take place one after another, regardless of modifiers, or it doesn't matter. We're not avoiding playlists or modifiers. You get what you get in this particular tournament. We don't really have any control over that, again, until we get private lobbies. and we don't have those right now. So we're just going to go one after another. If you end up with pro racing or some ridiculous modifier, it just is what it is, and you might not get that in the second round. But we're going to be going just one race after another, and whatever the race playlist is, it is what it is. So let's move on to the match scoring. This is how it's going to happen. First place gets 4 points, second place gets 3 points, third place gets 2 points, and fourth place gets 0 points. So the idea here is that whichever team gets 2 players on the podium, that's the team that's going to win. And that's how the points are going to work out. Now, the reason we even have points is because we are going to be giving a very, very slight advantage to the team with the most points that's in the final. So basically, when you guys register, you're going to select your preferred matchmaking region. It doesn't mean that's the region we're going to be playing on, but it is your preferred one. At the beginning of each of the races, I'm just going to toss a coin, and whoever wins that coin toss, that's the matchmaking region that we're going to be on for that race. Now, in the finals, the team with the most points going into the final, that's the team whose matchmaking region we're going to use. Now, it doesn't really give you a huge advantage, but it does give you a slight advantage when it comes to like desync and things like that. So if you're a team that's competing in this top 16, you're going to want to fight for every single point that you can in every single match. You want your team to go 1 and 2 every single time you race. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about the race rules. Obviously, clean racing is expected. I don't want people intentionally ramming people in corners and things like that. Just general racing rules. Everyone should know that at this point. Blocking at or near the finish line is not permitted, meaning you cannot do that. I don't want anyone blocking on the final straight. I just feel like it's sort of a shitty tactic, and it's not something you would see necessarily in real racing. In fact, even in like F1, you get penalized for moving twice when someone is about to pass you. It just can be it's really a safety issue for them, but for me, it's just kind of shitty racing. So I don't want anyone blocking at or near the finish line. The car picks are completely open for the tournament. Obviously, I have a specific car that you need to use for the qualifying. The shortcuts are definitely permitted. Resets and double resets are not permitted. No resets at all in this tournament. I don't want to see anyone resetting. There's really no reason to at this point. Also, we can't control disconnects of the game. Sometimes the game crashes, and in Season 7, it's been quite bad. So if your game disconnects or crashes, it's kind of tough luck, man. It's not something I can control. It's not something you can control. It just is what it is, and it's bad luck. And unfortunately, we sort of have to deal with that until, like I said, we get private lobbies. All right, the registration form is up and live, which means we are currently in the qualifying period. I'm going to end the qualifying and registration period on Thursday, September 11th. Then I'll post the top 16. I'll post the bracket on Friday, and then Saturday we will have the actual bracket tournament. So that's what you're going for. It is September 13th, this tournament that's going to take place on Saturday, September 13th. And we're going to be starting at 12 p.m. Central Time. So I'll put all of that information in the Discord. There's a link in the description for that as well. If you guys need any more information on that, just send me a DM on Instagram or Discord. If you have any questions, do the same. Send me a DM. It's hard to keep track of all the YouTube comments, so direct messages are definitely the best way. All right, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the tournament. Trigger out.